Hey, Clean Nation, Mike Campion here with Jackson Pinky Pinkowski. We were actually together in Oregon at an event, and we should have done a podcast there, so we could have been live. But dude got his plane, was not taking off, got there a little late, was exhausted, so we used up all the time Jackson and I had together to hang with the group. So we'll have to settle for us slightly, 1,000 miles apart or so. That said, today I'm really excited about the topic because it's kind of an underlying theme that touches on a lot of stuff. And I think if we can get this one thing solved, it'll touch a lot of different parts of your business. And that is what you track and what you do with that information. I'm going to start globally, and then we'll kind of move it to we'll move it specifically into marketing. Because for those of you who don't know, Jackson is our marketing guru, has spent millions of dollars on paid traffic, and obviously can't spend millions of dollars on organic traffic, but pretty good at that as well. I guess you could spend millions of dollars on organic traffic if you wanted to make a bunch of content. But anyway, Jackson knows what he's doing. We'll leave it at that. So I kind of want to start on the global business thing and then related to marketing, let Jackson give his perspective and insight on that. So people tend to track things that make them feel good, not get them the result that they want. And then the problem is sometimes they'll feel great and not be getting the results, and sometimes they won't be feeling good and they'll actually be getting the results. But they make decisions based on how they feel. And then when they're doing what they should be doing, getting the results they want, they'll change and stop getting the results that they want. Or when they don't feel good, they do the wrong thing. So the first biggest, most global one when it comes to business is revenue. Most people I talk to at the beginning, when I go, what's your goal for the company? 90% of the time, well, a lot of time it'll just be bigger, as big as I can get it, which is a ridiculous goal because you can't really create a plan for as big as I can get it, right? Like, I don't even know what that means. $1 trillion, all the money in the world, like $1 million, like I don't know what that means. So first of all, we want to be specific. Second of all, if I go like numbers, like what does that mean? They almost always give me the gross revenue number. And embarrassingly, sorry guys, if this is a conversation I've had with you, they'll go $50,000 a month, and they're doing 10,000 in revenue. And I'll go, do you mean revenue or profit? And they'll think about it for half a second and go, profit. Not because they've really thought about it or anything. They're just like, so literally just like that, they changed your whole thing from 50,000, what was probably revenue, to profit. But they haven't really, they're just not thinking it through because it's or typically when it comes to, it's $1 million. And I go, well, how much profit do you want to go? I don't know, I haven't thought about it. So they literally they give lots of thought to the $1 million because of how they think it will make them feel, right? If I'm $1 million business, I must be rich. But there's lots of $500,000 businesses out there that make $200,000 or $300,000 a year. And there's lots of multi-million-dollar businesses that lose $200,000 or $300,000 a year. So the sad thing is when I ask people, what do you want? Do you want the revenue? You want the profit? Like, oh, I want the profit. Well, okay, well then how come why are we asking for what we want? So one of the things that people miss is revenue equals risk, right? So nobody really wants $1 million. I promise you, I've had multi-million-dollar companies, and I can assure you don't want a multi-million-dollar company. Multi-million-dollar company just needs a lot of headaches. What you want is the profit that you think is going to be associated with that. And again, if you could pick, most people, I think if they could pick a $5 million company making no profit or making $50,000 a year, or a $200,000 company making $50,000 a year, would pick the 5 million because it sounds better and more exciting. But the risks that you've got to go through to get that 50,000, you've got to process $400,000 a month to get 50,000 in profit. God forbid one vendor doesn't pay. God forbid one little payroll, like anything could just not, like revenue equals risk, guys. So example one, global example of how tracking the wrong thing gets you the wrong result. I'm tracking revenue, and then these people are constantly hear it all the time. I'm 3 times as big as I was before, and I'm making half the money, or even I'm making 10% more money, but I'm working 3 times as much and I'm doing 3 times as much revenue. I've got 3 times as much risk. So that's the first one. How that applies to marketing, I'll give a couple softballs and I'll let Jackson dive in. One would be when it comes to social media, I'll give 3. One, when it comes to social media, followers. I know a lot of people have a lot more followers than us, but we make a lot of money from the people that we have. So they look more into, I was listening to, I think Alex Hormozy did a deal where talked about a lady making $1 million in profit, not revenue, per year. And I think had like 3,000 followers on Instagram, and it all came from Instagram. So you can, again, number of followers is what people go, that guy must be a big deal because he's got a bunch of followers. It does not translate into revenue. That's one. Two, on Facebook, they will give you, when you start doing paid ads, and I'm sure Jackson will have a bit of a rant on this one, they will give you so much data about impressions and about reach and about just, you could, I don't know, 200 data points. There are so many data points. And there's like 4 that really matter. But they want to obscure them to go, I spent $500 on Facebook last month. I ain't getting leads, bids, or sales, but my reach was 7 trillion people. Like everybody in the world saw it. And I'm being a little facetious, but they want to give you a bunch of numbers to make you feel good, but obscure the fact you're not making any money. God, there was a third one. I can't remember what it was. It was a social media following. It was the, we're going to go with those 2. It was Facebook, and then it's Facebook giving you a bunch of data. So, yeah, when it comes to ad spend, I spent a bunch of money. I didn't get any revenue. I didn't get any money back. But again, you're not tracking, well, how many leads did you get? How many conversions? How many clicks? There's other data. So big picture, you get you can expect what you inspect, right? You get what you track. If you track revenue, you're going to get revenue. If you track followers, you're going to get followers. If you track profit, you're going to get profit. It goes from business all the way down to marketing. Jackson, how are you seeing that with our clients, and how can we, what mistakes are they making that we can help Cleaning Nation not make?
Yeah. I think you say people, I want $1 million and I want $1 million. And it's like, yeah, you say profit or revenue. I think a lot of people just say profit because $1 million in revenue is probably like 1.865762 in revenue, which is an unsexy number for a lot of people. So they don't know those kinds of things. And I just kind of focused in on that. Yeah, it's a lot of getting hung up on the wrong things. And when I say the wrong things, I'm not saying if you say, hey, to me, my value is I get money from growing my organic following. That's great. That's not the wrong thing. It's when you start to misconstrue that data or associate the wrong things to what you're actually trying to get after. So, obviously a lot of times we want to track how many customers are we bringing in, what's the value of those customers, and what's our profit on those customers, right? But sometimes, you're tracking other things too. But it's when you start tracking, hey, I got one customer from this one thing I did. And it's like, well, you also got 40, 50 leads. How, why didn't you track those? Why did you overlook those? What was the reason? And then it becomes like, well, because of this. And then you dive deeper and deeper and deeper and to find out the real root reason is maybe my sales process was bad, or I didn't follow up with people at the right time, or something like that. But instead you stopped all the way at the top, and you missed out everything that was actually, actionable, fixable, or stuff that would actually increase your revenue, your profit down the line. So don't stop looking in. You want to drill down as many layers deep as you possibly go, because ultimately it's going to boil down to like if you're looking, for example, if you're looking at your profit as your goal number, right? And if you just went and looked at your books and said, hey, I was $20,000 off of my profit last month. I was unsuccessful. End of story. It's like, you can't do that. There's so much that goes into it. So how much did you spend on employees, on equipment, on travel, on payroll? How much did you pay yourself? Did you have supplies? Did you have anything else? Drill all the way down, and you can really start to identify, what do I need to tweak? What do I need to adjust? What's actually wrong? What's right? And am I in a good, like you said, am I in a good spot, or am I just being delusional with myself, either good or bad?
Mike Campion here. Do you ever listen to the podcast and go, this is great information, I just wish I could actually get it implemented, and I wish I could get some help? Well, we do that. If you would like either myself or my team's help actually coming up with a plan that's specialized to you and your business, because with these podcasts, obviously we have to be very general and we can only go 20 minutes at a time. If you'd like to jump on a call with myself or my team, go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. We'll jump on a call. There's no charge, and we'll help you get some absolute clarity around exactly what to do next and how to do it. The reason we don't charge for these calls is the plan that we come up with, people want help implementing that. If that's the case, we're happy to talk about it. And if it's not, that's okay too. We're happy to just help you come up with a plan. So if you want to translate the information you're learning here into an actual plan that can change your life, give us a ring, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. Love to either myself or have one of our coaches walk you through and actually personalize the content you get here to where you're at with your business. Talk soon. So you're so right. what I'd like to do is give a framework, because you can make two mistakes by swinging the pendulum too far either way. One way is I just look at revenue in my bank account, right? That's very typical. If my revenue is going up and I have money in the bank, I'm successful. But that's not enough data. You can go the other way to track every gosh darn thing all the way down to and then get overwhelmed with data. Like that's what Facebook wants to do, is just give you a bunch of stuff, and you can't kind of separate the smoke from the fire, what's real from what's just noise. So the way that the framework I would give you guys to avoid that is, at a minimum, once a month, you go over your financials. And the financials, you start with revenue. If it's going, so I'm not saying, so again, we're not saying revenue isn't of any importance, but people just stop at revenue. So we go over our revenue. If it's going, I'm looking for up, obviously. Believe it or not, the worst isn't down. For me, it's erratic. Way up, way down, way up, way down. That's to me worse than slowly going down, because slowly going down and figure out what's going on and change trajectory. Way up, way down is typically a little worse. And then of course, flat is not great either. So first we look at revenue, and then I go all the way. And if it's going up or staying the same, or nothing right there, I go all the way down to profit. And if the profit's where I want it, and my life, the way I experienced my business for last month was good. That's it. That's all, folks. You don't need any more data. So it's not like we have to get every piece of data every time. But let's say the revenue is going down. Okay, now I'm going to break into all right, I got to get leads, bid, sales. I got to get into lead sources. I'm going to start breaking into that. But not if my revenue's staying the same or going up. Same with profit. If my profit is good, we're done. That's the end of it. Revenue's staying the same or going up. My profit is staying the same or going up. I liked the way I experienced my business. Literally, it's a 2-minute meeting with yourself once a month, and that's as long as it needs to go. When revenue is going down, now we got to dive into the metrics, and the metrics are leads, bid, sales, cost per lead, cost per acquisition, ROI, right? What's this client worth first month? What's it worth first year? How much did it cost me to get it? That's really it. I spent $500. I got 50 leads. Leads are $10 a pop. Of those 50 leads, I got 2 bids. Bids are $250 a pop. I got 1 sale. That sale was for $500 a month. Okay, I broke even on the first month. Everything after that's gravy. Easy peasy. It's very simple math. It's not complex. So if the profit's no good, now I'm going to look at 2 other things: cost of goods sold and expenses. And this is for the cleaning industry, of course. If for us, we teach 45% cost of goods sold, 25% expense. If my cost of goods sold is 46% and my expenses are 39, I know what I got to do, right? I've got to cut some expenses or increase my revenue. If the opposite, cost of goods sold or expenses are 24% and cost of goods sold are 70, well, either my people are taking too long, out of third payroll because I'm paying every other week as opposed to twice a month, which is what we coach, twice a month, or most likely I need to optimize my pricing. I've got the wrong client base. So again, you don't have to get everything all the time, but you start with the global thing monthly. And then if everything's fine, you're done. If there's a problem somewhere, you use the data to go there. But probably the best example I get is people going, my hiring ad's not working. No matter what happens, but they don't have enough employees, they always think it's the hiring ad. And it's never the hiring ad, because we have a hiring ad that works great. It's how much are you spending on what platform? How many interviews did you get? What was your cost or how many applications did you get? What was your cost per application? What's your follow-up process? How many interviews did you get? Of those interviews, how many converted? And when you start getting those data points in, you're good to go. And you're like, wait a sec, that's new data. Remember I said earlier, how did you experience the business? We're like, experience the business is great. Then you don't have to get into that. You're like, oh my God, I was stressed because people kept calling in and no showing. Well, then I'm going to check the hiring data, right? And again, it's just going to be budget you spent, interviews, applicants, interview starts. So there's really not a ton of data points, right? When it comes to the overview, and you can get way in there, but it's leads, bid, sales, applicants, interview starts, gross sales, cost of goods sold, expenses, profit. That's it. I know it sounds like a lot, but if you do it every month and that you can run your whole business with it, it's pretty thin. All right. What did I miss, Jackson? What questions you have? What do you have to add? The floor is yours.
Man, what did you miss? I don't think anything.
Let me get my wife in here. She'll have 7 things. Just kidding, baby. Love you.
Yeah, honestly, I'd like to hammer home on the stopping when it looks good, because you can, and I take this from personal experience, you can drive yourself crazy trying to dig and find something that's truly not there. Because then it just kind of sends you down into a spiral. It's like, God, there was a movie where it was people were reacting to something that wasn't there and they would itch their skin off or something like that. And it can be the same thing, not as grotesque, but with your business, because ultimately the data don't lie unless you're wrong putting the data in, but you shouldn't be, because, you know, it's what you do, or you hire people to do it. But yeah, don't dig and look for something that doesn't need to be found, because it's most likely not there. And typically that ends up leading to you thinking you need to make a tweak, you make an adjustment, it ends up making things worse. And then additionally too, what Mike said about at the beginning about roller coastering on all this, same thing goes for ads, same thing goes for, you know, any type of data you're looking at. Constant rise is obviously the best. Constant, you know, staying stagnant is okay. Decline is also okay. I don't mind that as much, because the world is volatile. Things go up, things go down, stuff happens. But when you're drastically changing week over week, month over month, you know, quarter after quarter, there's usually that's a bigger problem. So I encourage you to keep an eye on those things. And yeah, it's if you haven't done this before, or you don't currently look at your business in this way, you know, you don't have to start crazy. You can ease into it, because it is like a habit. Like with many things we talk about here, it's a habit. Once you start doing it more, you get better with it. So, you know, start looking at it like a weekly basis, just getting a rein on those metrics you want to look at, and then move to a monthly basis, and it will become so much less overwhelming for a lot of people.
Oh, that's a great point. I've got two things to add, and then I think we'll wrap it. One, yeah, that monthly review of the financials, that's when things are generally good. When things aren't as good, you do it every other week, and then weekly. So sorry, that monthly is the minimum, weekly is the max. If you do it daily, you're gonna drive yourself nuts, even weekly. Yeah. But you can dial that up and down based on how things are going. So no less than monthly when things are going well, no more than weekly or every other week when things are tough. The last thing I want to say, because you said something great, Jackson, I want to make sure people get it. The whole looking for problems, like Jackson's a marketer. So I'm going to throw you, this isn't the truth, but I'll throw you under the bus. So if he started his own business, he might have something on fire with the financials, but he's not comfortable with the financials. He doesn't like that. So he may not even recognize it just because that's not his wheelhouse, but the marketing might be performing at A. He's like, I can get it to an A++++, right? So his marketing's at 9.2 because that's where he's at. He's like, his tendency or human tendency is going to try and get that 9.2 to 9.4, even though the financials or something else on the higher might be to 6. And it's so much easier to get that 6 up to an 8 than to get to a 9.2 to a 9.4. But because he's comfortable, he's going to focus on things he's comfortable with. So the data forces you to focus on what needs to be focused on, not what you want to do. So we all, like the sales guy wants to make the sales better, but if it's already crushing on sales, look at something that's not crushing, right? The accountant wants to work on bean counting, but nobody's selling anything. So the data will force you as the owner to focus on what needs help, not on what you're comfortable doing, which is probably already being done at a high level. So globally, find your 2s and turn them into 7s before you find your 9s and try and turn them into 9.5. Anything to add before we wrap it, Jackson?
If this doesn't air before the Stanley Cup Finals, go Panthers.
I don't know when this will air, but you know what? I'm not a hockey fan, so if Jackson says go Panthers, let's go Panthers. You've got yourself a complete fair weather fan of no use, Panther family. All right, guys, gals. If this has been helpful, we have a ton of free resources, growmycleaningcompany.com, Facebook group. You're welcome to join that. We've done 1,000 podcasts, YouTube, Instagram. Join us wherever you're comfortable. We'll give value any way we can. See you soon. Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it. And we sure appreciate your time and attention.